Welcome back, Dire Wolf here. Today we're going to be going over 33 questions white people have for white people from BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed, as you know, is an organization that's been peddling left-wing SJW bullshit for quite a long time. They're the ones who made the video on questions black people have for white people and the videos saying that reverse racism, which is just racism, doesn't exist. So we already know they're full of shit, so I guess let's go watch the video. This is 33 questions white people have for white people.
Why do you assume only other races like fried chicken? I love fried chicken. It should be a white person stereotype because of me.
Who doesn't like fried chicken? It's delicious. However, it's a stereotype because most of the slaves and then freed blacks were in the South, and that was popular Southern cooking. That culture of food is passed down through the black families the same as is passed down through Southern families.
Why do we make it so we only have pumpkin in the fall? I want pumpkin all the time.
Dumb question. It's seasonal. Next question.
Why can't most white people dance?
Seriously, like, is it genetic or something? Do we have like stiff hips or like two left feet?
I can dance.
Again, this is cultural. Most white European groups put less cultural emphasis on dance. So it's not that they are unable to dance, but it is less popular, so less people do dance, and it's less interest among the populace. But there's plenty of people. Look at Dancing with the Stars. There's plenty of white people who can dance. Just because you can't dance, because you haven't been surrounded by dance and haven't had dance in your life since you were young and hasn't been in your family, doesn't mean you couldn't have danced if your life hadn't been different.
Why do you get so annoyed when other people don't speak English?
English is hard. We have silent Ks.
This is not just white people and not just English. People find it annoying when they cannot communicate with or do business with someone because they cannot speak a common language. Fair or not, do not try pinning this on just white people because it's not just white people.
Why do we get so excited to brag on Instagram that we went to this really cool, authentic cultural festival, even though we went with all of our white friends?
I don't think many people, myself included, would brag about going to a cultural festival if we went to a cultural festival at all, but I find it a bit odd that you think that's an achievement. Also, I think you might be projecting just a little too much. And lastly, I think it's a bit odd that you think that it is bad that someone would go to a cultural festival with only white friends. Like, can I only appreciate cultures or go to cultural events with a member of that culture with me? Can I not listen to rap music in my house unless I have a black person with me? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Can I only eat white rice when I'm with a Chinese person? Can I only eat kimchi if I have a Korean person with me? The question is stupid, you're stupid, move on, next question.
Why do white people spray tan until they turn orange?
Can't you just be comfortable in your own body?
I'm just saying, it's not tan, it's orange.
So what you're trying to say here is it's okay to horribly and incorrectly generalize an entire racial group. And that's fine when it's towards white people, but if you do the same thing towards any other racial group, it's wrong. But you can generalize and come up with stupid stereotypes for white people, what are obviously untrue. So where's this rash of people walking around with the orange spray tans? Definitely not anyone I know. Every racial group has members that take superficial steps to try to meet the ideal beauty standards, but it's definitely not the norm, and definitely not the entire group needs to be questioned because of the actions of a few.
Why do you think that since you've seen 5 seasons of The Wire, you're a cultural expert?
I don't. Practically no one does, and you're an idiot. Next question.
Why do you believe everything you see on TV when it comes to other races?
Most people don't. However, hypothetically, if there was a person out there whose only source of information was the media, then you cannot blame them for only knowing what they have been taught. Fortunately, our country being a melting pot, most people have had the opportunity to interact with people of other races and do know that those stereotypes are inaccurate. Furthermore, if someone is receiving bad information and forming an opinion off it, you should not be angry at the person being given that information, but the source. You should be mad at the media if they're perpetuating negative stereotypes.
Why do we get upset when a TV show becomes diverse, even though diverse usually just means 2 to 3 people of color?
People would only care in cases like the BBC, where people who are white lost their jobs in the name of diversity. So people who are white were fired only because they were white. That is racism. And that's why people have a problem with diversity. It's not because they don't want to see black people on TV or any other race on TV. They don't want people losing their jobs because they're not the desired race. Affirmative action hurts equality.
Why do you assume movies with white stars are automatically more relatable than movies with people of color?
This is another straw man argument. Generally, they aren't more relatable, unless, of course, it's a culturally specific film like, I don't know, Soul Plane.
People of color have had to relate to white characters for all of cinematic history.
My bad, next time around we'll invent motion picture and the film industry in a non-white country. India produces Indian films. China produces Chinese films. Russia produces Russian films. And guess what? America, which is predominantly white, produces predominantly white films. What the fuck, guys?
Why is Viola Davis the first black woman to win an Emmy for Best Actress?
Why
Because she was the first one to act right. Next question, please.
aren't we complaining that the Oscars and other award shows are like all white?
It's just like white people congratulating other white people on being white.
Everybody should be represented.
Black people have received 13% of the awards at the Oscars, which is the same percentage they are of the populace. Just because they haven't won in every category an award doesn't mean they're not being fairly represented. If today a black person were to win every single category, they would of course have a much higher percentage awarded to them than they are a percentage of their populace. So it's fair according to math, but it doesn't freaking matter because these awards are based on performance. No race is guaranteed any percentage of the awards because each individual is being judged by their own performance.
Why don't we know the difference between appropriation and appreciation?
Why
Appreciating something is valuing something, and appropriating something is something dumb that the SJWs have created to say that someone cannot use something from someone else's culture, which is just as dumb as saying that minority groups can't use the scientific theory because it was created by a white guy. If you believe we're equal, then you should encourage the sharing and mixing of cultures, because America is a melting pot. Anytime you say one group can or cannot do this, another group can or cannot do that, then you're only dividing us.
can't we figure out how to make our own pop culture, our own slang, our own cool clothes, instead of stealing other people's cool clothes and then saying that they are our cool clothes?
Culture is to be shared, not hoarded.
Why are white people obsessed with Wes Anderson?
We're not.
Why would you ever say thug life? It's a bad life.
Why is this a question for white people? Why does anyone say thug life?
What do you have against seasoning and spiciness? Didn't Christopher Columbus discover America looking for spices?
What, so now white people can't cook? Where are you getting this bullshit from?
Casseroles are a thing.
They're not.
Why do you try to avoid confrontation at all costs?
Why do you seem to be describing single individuals that could belong to any racial group, but are attributing it to only white people? In fact, not only just white people, but all white people. Because it is okay to generalize all white people, but not any other group.
Why is it crazy that I'm white and I have a big butt?
It's not crazy, and it's easy to explain.
Wow, she put on so much weight.
Ooh, it's a bit harsh there, Lacey.
Why do you make such a big deal when somebody doesn't want to hike?
How many ridiculous strawmen can you fit into one video?
Why do you keep talking about reverse racism? That is not a thing.
You know what? Reverse racism is not a thing. It's just racism. Just like this video. It is wrong to stereotype an entire group. BuzzFeed made this video because they made a questions black people have for white people video that gave them a huge amount of backlash. That video was so clearly racist that many people responded. And you'd think they'd learn their lesson, but no, they doubled down, thinking maybe it will not come across as racist and they'll be able to prove their points if they use white people to state the white stereotypes. They try to tell themselves and us that black people and other minorities cannot be racist because they don't have institutional power. Racism is the preference or hatred of another race based on their race. Okay? It's cut and dry. You guys are racist. Your video is racist. The people who work for you are racist. You are the problem. You try saying that no minority can be racist. They can only be bigoted. Like that's somehow better. But everything a white person can do and has done and will do in the future will be racist. This double standard cannot stand. Back me up, Lacey.
Racism is bad. The worst thing you could be.
That's right. All racism, no matter who it comes from. Thank you, Lacey. Now, what's your opinion of BuzzFeed, Lacey?
Mean, annoying, lazy, stupid, big fucking bully.
Very well said, Lacey. BuzzFeed, stop perpetuating negative stereotypes, stop spreading hate, and stop blaming white people, okay? Direwolf out. Okay, so it wasn't all 33 questions, so sue me.